Hello everyone, welcome to the PD training brought to you by Virginia Pierce, Kayla Rochelle, and Ashley Sidebottom. I'm Ashley and I'm going to start us off today by giving us a little bit of a background about open access journals. One of the biggest things that we try to teach our students is how to research appropriately and properly, and we want them to be able to use credible sources, and open access journals are one way that we can make that happen. So first you might be thinking, what in the world are open access journals? Well, basically they're available freely and immediately on the internet in multiple languages. Some of them are credible and authoritative, but others are not. You can find them through easy Google searches and even on Google Scholar searches. And students, teachers, and librarians need a quick way to determine if these articles published are credible or not. Some of the positives of using open access journals are it gives you a wider accessibility of information. They're absolutely free. They're fast and wide dissemination of new information, and that can often spur new research, so you're going to have a lot more current information usually. It often will lead to a growth of knowledge. It has positive impacts on business, and it will give you a faster use of recent knowledge in teaching. Some negatives though, they're not always peer-reviewed, they're not always credible, and the lack of fees often results in little to no payment to authors, which could also cause lesser quality, and that also damages the credibility. So what can you do to make sure you're using credible information from online journals? So now we're going to learn a little bit about the PEEP process and how that can help us in making sure we and our students are using the most credible information in our research.
And now continuing with how can you make sure that the information that you and your students are using is credible and accurate when using online journals. We use something called the PEEP process, P-E-E-P, and those stand for publication, the editor, the editorial board, and the publisher. And any of these can quickly tell you about the credibility of an article. And even though it is a 4-step process, those 4 steps do not take long at all once you get going, once you get into it. The publication, the first P, is what is the journal's name? Is it something that you recognize? If it is not, you can do a quick Google search and find out pretty fast whether or not that's something you're going to want to use. A few credible examples would be the Review of Educational Research, the IEEE Transactions on Industrial Electronics, an educational psychologist. And there are so many journal publications, you're probably not going to know all of them, but a quick Google search, again, is going to help you determine whether that is credible. The first E stands for editor. Who is the editor of that material and what organization are they affiliated with? If you don't recognize it, you can do a Google search on that as well. A few credible examples would be Frank C. Worrell, who is affiliated with Berkeley, Carlo Sassati, the University of L'Aquila and IEEE, and Catherine Wenzel, who is affiliated with the University of Maryland. Those would be examples of credible editors. And again, you're not going to know all of their names, of course, but just look for the affiliation if you don't recognize their name. The second E stands for the editorial board for that publication. Who are the people on the editorial board and what is their affiliation? Do you recognize them? A few examples of credible affiliations would be any major university such as UCLA, Kansas, Ohio State, institutes of technology such as MIT, Ecole Polytechnique, and the government agencies such as the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, or the WHO, the World Health Organization. And the last piece stands for the publisher. Who has published this article? Are they a group that you recognize? If not, you can do a quick Google search. A few credible examples are Sage Publications, IEEE, which we saw before, and Taylor and Francis Limited, which is actually an international publisher. And now I'm going to walk you through a few examples of how you and your students can use the PEEP process to evaluate the journals that you find. The first search that I'm going to walk you through is a search for articles on inquiry models, since that is something really big right now. You can start at Google Scholar. You can start with a Google search. That's https://scholar.google.com. However, the problem with many of these is that they are not open access, meaning you have to pay for them. And that's something that you might not want to do at that time. So when I started this search, many of the hits that I found were paid articles. They were not open access. So I continue my inquiry model search. You can go to a source such as DOAG, that's the database of open access journals, and you can continue your search there, which I did. And let's say that you wanted to investigate this article, The Effects of Teacher and Teacher Library and High-End Collaboration. That's the article that I'm interested in. So I clicked on it, and circled in red, I noticed the journal title and the publisher. The publisher is Tamkang University Press, and those aren't things that I'm necessarily familiar with. So for P for publication and for publisher, both of these were not familiar to me. So a quick Google search revealed that Tamkang University is actually a large private university in Taiwan. So that one would be okay to use. And here, going back, is a picture of the editor and part of the editorial board as well. And looking at those, I saw that the chief editor is also affiliated with Tamkang University, and the editorial board actually consisted of people from several different nations, including the University of Wisconsin, the University of Wales, and other places. So this article would pass the PEEP test. The second search I'm going to walk you through is you never know what students are going to be interested in. So I did a search for articles on scorpion stings. And a web search finds an article in something called the International Journal of Tropical Disease and Health, which I was not familiar with. So I did a Google search of this publication. And research on this found that I didn't get a whole lot of information. A lot of the journal titles were similar names for different journals. There wasn't really a whole lot of information on it. So this publication should probably be avoided. And that means that you can stop the PEEP process. If you have determined that this article is not one that you are going to be using, you don't have to continue. You can move on to other sources. And the third example that I'm going to walk you through is a search for articles on computers in the classroom. And I started at doag.org, the database of open access journals. And I found this article below, Integrating E-Learning and Classroom Learning. And checking out the P for publication and for publisher. The journal title is the Journal of Systemic Cybernetics and Informatics. The publisher is the International Institute of Informatics and Cybernetics. When I researched this, I found that these are from a legitimate source, iiisci.org. So those would be okay to use. And clicking on to the editor and the editorial board that I saw, they both come from some pretty big institutes and universities from a few different countries, including Seton Hall, Johns Hopkins, and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Both of those were okay. So this article also passes the PEEP test and would be credible and reliable for you to use.
So I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough of an actual search for an open access journal, and we're going to go through the PEEP process together. So I'm going to start my search in Google Scholar, and I'm going to look up in that journal on inquiry-based learning. So as you can see, I have over 1 million hits. And I'm going to scroll through, and this one right here looks really interesting. Effects of inquiry-based learning on students' science literacy skills. So when I click on this article, the first thing I'm going to need to look for in the PEEP process is the publication. So what is the journal name? The International Journal Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. This is something that I am not familiar with. So if I do a really quick Google search of the International Journal Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, I am brought up with scholarly articles, and then my second link is for this actual journal. This journal is an open, double-blind peer review electronic journal. If we look deeper into about this journal, it tells us more about what the requirements are. It is a scholarly process. If we look at the review process, we can see that there is a lot of criteria. There's clear goals, adequate preparation. So I'm going to say that so far so good, that this is a valid journal. The next thing we're going to look for is who is the editor and what organization are they affiliated with. So Kara Gormley is from the University of Georgia. Peggy Brickman, also from the University of Georgia. Britton Hallar is from West Virginia Higher Education, and Norris Armstrong, also from the University of Georgia. I have never read anything by those people specifically. However, they are professors from a accredited university, so I'm going to say that they are safe and valid authors. The next thing we're going to look for is the editorial board. So on this journal, actually on the left-hand side, if you click on the editorial board, it will give you a full list of who was on the board. And as you can scroll through, we have a lot of people that were on the editorial board here, but all of them are from some sort of university or college, something of higher education. So that tells me that they're all highly educated, and they're probably valid and good editors for this article. Editorial board, excuse me. The last thing we're going to look for is the publisher. So what organization published this? This again is that International Journal of Scholarship, Teaching and Learning. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be a good article for us to use. So from here, I would just download the article and begin doing any of my research that I needed to from this journal article based on inquiry-based learning and the science literacy skills. To review the PEEP process, I would like for us all to look at the same journal article and actually go through each of the letters of the acronym of PEEP to determine if it is a credible resource for you to use. So let's begin by opening the directory of open access journals. You can access this by doing a quick Google search of DOAJ. And once you get into the directory, I would like for you to search again, inquiry-based learning. It should hopefully populate you with the same articles that I'm getting. I received 404 articles that are related to inquiry-based learning. And I'm actually going to choose the second link that says first-year teachers uphill struggle to implement inquiry instruction. When you open that link, it will bring you to, first of all, the abstract. You can click for the full text, but before we actually get reading and use any of the information, we are going to have to go through the PEEP process. The first P in the PEEP process, if you remember, is publication. What is the publication or the journal name? Do you recognize it? If you don't, you can search quickly in Google to see if it is credible. So take a few seconds, find the journal title, and let's see if you think that it's accurate. Hopefully you were able to find quickly that the journal title is Sage Open. If you remember from our earlier presentation, we said that Sage Publications was a credible example. However, if you are not comfortable, you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend that you do a quick Google search. So when I looked up Sage Open, it brings me to the Sage Publishing website. And when we look specifically at Sage Open, what is it? It is an open access publication. It is peer reviewed. It is one of the world's premier open access outlet academic research sites. So I totally think that Sage Open is a good choice. And I hope that you said that as well. The second step of the PEEP process is to look at the editor. Who is the editor and what organization are they affiliated with? It is easy to find on this article who the authors are, Tanya, Bruce, and Diana. They are not listed with their affiliations, so it is definitely a good idea to conduct a quick Google search and see what you can find about these authors. If you want to quickly look them up and determine if they are credible, I'll see if I agree with you in just a few moments. I was able to find information on all three authors. Tanya is Department of Academic Advising and Educational Psychology from McGill University. She has the PhD recipient of an award. And if I scroll through, I was able to find a lot of publications that she has written. So I think that she is definitely someone that is valid. Bruce, I also found him through McGill, the Department of Education and Counseling Psychology. He as well has a lot of experience. He is highly educated. He has many degrees. His area of expertise is inquiry as a curricular focus. Considering that our article was about inquiry-based learning, I think that he would also be a good source. And the third author, Diana, is also from the McGill University in Montreal. She has 8 research items, and she was cited 168 times, excuse me. And then if we scroll through, it talks about all of the other things that she was a contributor on. She definitely has experience. So I would give the first E, editor, a check mark for a positive in the PEEP process. And next on the PEEP process, we are going to look for the editorial board. Who are the people on the board and what is their affiliation? There is a quick link under editorial information for this article. When you click on editorial board, it is going to bring you up with a list of specific people and their affiliations. Go quickly through these and see if you think they are valid sources. Looking at the editorial board of this article, we find that there are a lot of contributors. And if we look specifically, we will see that all of them, again, are associated with some sort of higher education. We have people that are from inside of the United States, and then we also have people that are outside of the United States from many different areas around the world. So I think with this editorial board, I think it would be a really safe bet that this is a credible source. And to finish up our PEEP process, we need to look at the final P, and that is the publisher. So the publisher of this article is Sage Publications. Think back to the earlier presentation. If you don't remember, do a quick Google search. Do you think this is credible? If you remember from our earlier presentation, you remember that Sage Publications, we said, is a valid source. Sage Publications is an open access journal website, and they are one of the most used. So definitely think Sage Journal, Sage Publications is going to be a good, valid, credible source for you to use from an open access journal. We have gone through the entire PEEP process. We've looked at the publication, the editor, the editorial board, and the publisher of this journal article, and we have identified all 4 of those as credible sources. So now you can use this journal article for your own research, just for some reading to get some more information. Hopefully you saw how quick and easy the PEEP process is, but is definitely beneficial for you to make sure that any open access journal you are using is a credible source. This has been Virginia, Kayla, and Ashley. We thank you for your time and your patience as we went through the PEEP process with you, and we hope that you find it very helpful in your times of research.